You've now seen my 3 timetable programs, including everything that's good about them and everything I feel is bad about them. I'm still a big fan of these programs, but I know there's a much better way of running things. So I think it's time to introduce you all to the upgrade. Hello everyone, it's M4J here and welcome back to the M4J Network Database Project, here currently on openttd. We won't be here for very long, but I thought this was a better screen to introduce this episode on. I'm here at GSG, which is probably going to be the busiest station on the entire network once everything is up and running. Now, last time in this series I talked about everything that was wrong with my timetable programs, which might sound like I was being a little too critical, but ultimately there's a lot of things that are wrong with it, let's be honest here. And I want to talk about how we're going to improve that. But I think the easiest way to show you how we're going to improve on it is to actually take you to the database itself, which we will do in just a second. Right now, I'm in the midst of recording another episode for the main series where we're going to be utilizing all of these platforms here for the Grand Northern franchise. Now, the problem with this is technically this is isolated from this. So in theory, no fast train crosses over the slow tracks in any way where I would need to run conflict detection. Except that's not true, is it? Because we have the Airport Express, of which I think... No, that's not one, I don't believe. No, that is one. You've just come off the fast lines, either here or up here. So, yeah, they do actually conflict, and therefore we do need to run the conflict detection in order to get those services up and running. I'm also introducing a whole new franchise up in the northeast of the map, which also needs the conflict detector run. Now again, technically, I could run that in isolation and just get those services up and running, which is probably what I am going to do for now, because I don't think they conflict with any existing services on the map. Actually, no, they do. They meet at Beffingway. So yeah, again, I'm going to have to get all of the services into the conflict detector again, which is pushing, I think we're getting close to 50 now. So that's going to take a long old time, plus all of the station capabilities and all of that stuff. I can already hear my head banging against the wall. So there's a lot of work to be done there. But let's take you over to the database and show you how I have made my life a little bit easier elsewhere. And here we go. Looks great, right? It's very simple. I'll give you that. It's very, very simple. This is actually just the back end of the database. This is the UI that I've designed in order to be able to actually input, edit, and remove items from the database itself. The actual database, it's hard to show what a database actually looks like because it's just a series of tables with data stored in it. Almost like a base for data, one might say. But yeah, this is the database manager, as it says up here. I've also learned from my mistake in the first 3 episodes, and I have zoomed in slightly so we can actually see this properly. I don't think there's much screen cropping here either, so you should be able to see everything I see, and I have just done a little check and the text was clear. So hopefully you can actually read what I'm looking at on my screen right here, right now. I think there are 19 tables on here at the moment. I'm not going to count them all, but there were previously 17 and I've added 2 new ones since then, so I believe there are 19. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But this is everything, really. These ones at the bottom here, these might get changed in the future. The main ones right now are stations, station modes, which actually could get moved down here as well right now because it's not that important. Stations is the important one. Routes, franchises, which are already populated. We'll talk about that momentarily. Depots, also populated. We'll talk about that momentarily. Rolling stock, which is something we're going to look at in just a second because this is important. Rolling stock classes, coupling compatibility, and then we have services, service designators, which is also populated, but we're going to talk about that in a minute because that's something we're going to be changing in just a second. Operators, and these ones, I will cover them momentarily, but they're not that important. Now, the operators, it's a good one to start with. These are all the current individuals who operate services or will be soon operating services on the network. And it's a simple case of put their name in here. So we've got me, M4J Rail, George Da Silva, who's probably my longest supporting member, actually. George is awesome. He actually helped with the programming of some of this as well. So massive thanks to George. I'll talk about his input in just a second as well, because I was banging my head against the wall and he came through and helped me out when I needed it. So massive appreciation there. And Master Trams, who's helped me with all of the logistical side of how a railway actually runs. He's a professional in the industry. He does this for a living. So I've been leaning on him a lot for the realism side of things, but then also trying to make it arcadey so that it's still accessible to players. The whole point of this database is so that someone can come on and just say, I want to run a train from A to B, stopping at C, D, E, F, G, and the program does all of the work for them. Rather than the previous system, which is you have to do all of the work, and then the program goes, no, conflicts, which, yeah, annoying. So the way the tables work is you've got the operator ID in this instance, but you've got the primary key here. So 1, 2, 3. Then you've got all of the details that will go in the middle. There may be 1 column like here. There may be 6 columns like we'll see in a moment. And then you've got actions at the end. It doesn't line up, which annoys me, but you've got edit and delete. So if I want to change something here, I can just click the edit button. Let's say I change my name to M4J Rail Plus. I'll hit the edit button, put in some new deets, hit confirm, and it'll update the database for me. The reason I'm not showing you the actual database is I use a program called dbeaver to actually create the tables and all of that stuff. It's not that interesting to look at, in all honesty, and it's something I don't know much about myself. I only use it for what I need it for. So it's not, as I said, the most interesting part of the video. Let's talk about service designators. This is quite a long form here. The other thing that's important is this is the database itself. This is actually showing the live data as is contained within the database. This at the top here is just a form that I use to input that data. So designation, here you can see all of the options. In fact, can you see? No, you can't see them all. You can see them in the text box, but you can't see the drop down that's just appeared for me. So we've got high speed, express passenger, express freight, high speed passenger, semi-fast passenger, and stopping passenger. We're going to add 2 new ones to this, as well as changing the existing priority order here. So we've got 1 through 7 right now. We're actually going to add 2 new ones, so we're going to have 9 designations in total. Then you've got headway. So the priority number is the number down here, priority number. Headway, and then we got dwell times. Now this is something that also might change. Currently, on the old programs, we have these minimum and maximum times, but they only apply to intermediate stations. So at turnaround stations, there's no fixed limit as such. The minimum layover is the minimum time, and I set the maximum to the frequency of the service, but there's no other sort of constraints on it. So what I mean by that is we'll have a service like the Guard City St Michael to Sanley Express on the Western Reaches South. When that train arrives at Sanley, this is the non-stopper, by the way. It doesn't stop at all, runs direct. It reverses out of Sanley into the sidings. Now, technically, the way the old system works, it won't read Sanley as a terminus. And therefore, it could sit there for 2 minutes and then reverse out. Now, in theory, in the real world, that could be possible. If you have a shunter stood on the platform, waiting for the train to arrive, they can then jump into the rear cab and then drive the train forwards out of the station into the sidings. But in reality, that's still quite a tight turnaround, 2 minutes. So I've changed this now so that we've got intermediate stop times and we've got interchange stop times. So a high-speed passenger train here, when it stops at an intermediate station, it can sit there for a minimum of 5 minutes, a maximum of 10 minutes. But at an interchange, it can stop for a minimum of 10 minutes or a maximum of 30. And this is essentially interchange is the nice way of saying either a major junction station where you might have to sit for a longer period of time in order to allow for transfers and things like that, or a terminus. So 30 minutes is pretty good. 10 minutes here is the absolute minimum, but at an actual terminus where the train turns around, and there will be a tick box for that as well. You can tick it and say acts as terminus when you're putting in the journeys yourself. That will be set to the minimum layover of the train. So yeah, that's all good. It's all set up essentially what we need in order to make it work. We've then got minimum adjustment steps, maximum adjustment steps. This is something I talked about in the last episode as being quite limiting. So these numbers may also change, because I think the maximum adjustment step should be the maximum stop time minus the minimum stop time. So in this case, 20 minutes it would be for the high speed. And that just means that you can do a single adjustment that takes it from the minimum time to the maximum time. I think that makes sense. Or maybe go down an extra half or whatever. I don't know. We'll come up with ideas. And then the step amount is the increments that those steps can be taken. So if the minimum here is 1, the maximum is 10, the step amounts can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you get the idea. This is basically the biggest problem that I have with the old system. So it's hopefully going to be fixed here. But as I said, we're going to make some changes now. So I need to find stopping freight, which is here, number 7. The first thing we're going to do is change that. Oh, you can see the box that's come up. That's cool. We're going to change the priority number here from 7 to 9. And we're going to hit save, and hopefully it does work. Now, I did have a thing set up so that when I input new data, it keeps me on the tab that I was on. But I haven't done that yet for updating or deleting. So we do have to come back to the tab manually, but it's fine. So you can see now there's a gap, 6, and then it jumps to 9. So where's 7 and 8? 7 and 8 are going to be empty coach stock movements, or out of service movements is what I'm going to call them, because we have now journeys to and from the depot that are going to be timetabled as part of the network. On the current system, they're not. On the new system, they will be. And that's purely because I've noticed in some cases, some trains are getting held up. They're either out of service movements that are being held up by revenue trains, or some revenue trains have to stop in order to allow an out of service movement to enter or exit the depot, which is a little bit annoying that happens. Only happens at the start and end of the day. It doesn't happen during the day, and it's just while trains are getting set up for the daily movements. But I think it's probably for the best, actually, that we actually integrate all of this into one system, because in the real world, empty stock movements are part of the timetable. And I was discussing this with Master Trams. There are certain limitations to how I want to do it, but in the real world, essentially, a revenue earning train has the absolute priority. There will be cases where empty stock movements will be pulled aside to allow a revenue train through. More often than not, though, the empty stock movements are the fastest trains on the network because they literally don't stop anywhere. So they might not be reaching 125 miles an hour, but they also don't stop until they get to their first station of their journey. So they run straight through everything, pretty much. And the chances are they will catch up to the slower trains that are stopping at places. So the rule of thumb is an empty stock movement might catch up to a revenue train and will be held at a signal, but a revenue train should never be held at a signal in order for an empty stock movement to take place. That's what I got from that conversation. Master Trams is probably sat there now going, no, that's not what I said, but let's just pretend that is indeed what was said. Now, the way we're going to do this is we're going to have 2 types of out-of-service movement. One passenger and one freight. Now, the freight train... to be honest, I'm going to change this number again. So I've got it set at 9 right now. I'm going to set it back to 8. Purely because I think out-of-service passenger should sit at 7. So it sits below everything else here, but it's above stopping freight. And then out of service freight should be number 9, because that should be pulled into every single siding imaginable in order to let actual revenue earning trains come through. Now, one thing I'm confused about with this is what to do with the dwell times, because in theory there are none, because at the point where it leaves the depot it hasn't entered the network yet, so there's no dwell times there that need to be timetabled. And at the point when it arrives at its turnaround station, it has started its journey. So therefore it's then on the, let's say it's an express train, it's then on the express limitations, not the out of service ones. But I might still put blanket numbers in here, because we can always tell our programs in the future to just ignore this. So yeah, I think what I'm going to do is out of service packs, priority, you are number 7, headway. Now for this, I think we'll go with the lowest of the headways. Maybe not. So express passenger, headway of 5. This is in minutes. So maybe we'll just do that. The semi-fast is also 5. Stopping is 2. We do want a bit of a gap between them because they are going to get up to some speed. So I think we will say 5. And then the minimum intermediate stop times, if it does stop anywhere, we could just say 1 minute. The minimum interchange stop time, I think, could also be 1 minute, in all honesty, which is this one here. And then the maximum, well, we do want these trains to be able to pull aside and let other trains through. So we could say 10 for both. I think those are good numbers. Oops, just click the same thing twice there. And then adjustment steps, well, I guess adjustment steps here can be 0.5, and the maximum adjustment step could be the 10 minus 1, which would be 9. And then the adjustment steps amount would also be 0.5. Does that make sense? I think that makes sense. We'll add it. We can always adjust it in future. As you can see, look, it hasn't changed the tab now. And if I come down here, it is out of order. So this is number 11. And you can see I'd already had some test ones. So we actually start on 4. There's no way of resetting that, which is, for me personally, that's really annoying. But this is just how databases work. But out of service packs, priority number is 7. So it slots nicely in this gap here. And then all of these numbers here are set up accordingly. I'm happy with that. So now we've got to do the same thing again, but we're doing out of service freight. So out of service freight. Priority number 9. You're right at the bottom. Your headway is technically going to be the same as a stopping freight, which is 10 minutes. That does seem a little high. But again, these numbers are changeable. We could just set this exactly the same as we've done here. So 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 45 minutes, and 120. 30, 60, and then 45 here, and then at an interchange, which is basically any major freight terminal, 120-minute dwell time. You can sit there for 2 hours if you need to, which is a long time. And then 1, 15, and 1. I'm happy with those numbers. And we'll add, and there it is at the bottom. Lowest priority, and there's all the times. Again, I'm happy with that, and you can see now how I put my data into the database. With that in mind, let's take a look at franchises. As of this episode's recording, these are all of the franchises operating on the network, except for some reason I haven't put Northwestern in here, and I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know why. So I'm going to put Northwestern in. which is Northwestern. The operating name, actually, we'll do Northwestern as 2 words, and then Northwestern as 1 word, because that's the operating name. The nickname for it is, I don't know, NW. I don't really have many nicknames for my things right now. See, a lot of them is just abbreviations of the actual name. Operator is me. Parent franchise right now. These are all the franchises on here. Some are parent franchises, which means good example of that is Western Reaches. That's technically a parent franchise. Western Reaches North. Where are they? Here. Western Reaches North and Western Reaches South are actually sub-franchises of the same thing. They may not be in the future, but right now they are. So we've got that set up. Guard City Connect as well is its own... Actually, High Speed Transit is probably the best one. Transrapid and High Speed are part of the High Speed Transit parent franchise. Guard City Connect also splits into Guard City Connect and Guard City Express, and the Western Reaches one, as I've already said there. Now, technically, Northwestern and Northeastern, which is the one I'm working on in the main series right now, they were part of the same franchise originally, but I like the idea of having them as separate ones now, because I think they will operate a lot better. So for this, none is the selection that we choose here, and then transport mode. These are hard baked into the database. These are the only ones right now that aren't populated by existing tables. So, oh yeah, I forgot to mention as well, this is actually using a foreign key from the operators table over here. So we've got the 3 operators and they will appear here. If we added a 4th one, they will appear here as well, 5, 6 and so on. Not alphabetical order, which can be a bit of a pain, but right now there's 3 of us. It's not like I can't find someone out of 3. And this is it. Northwestern, NW, M4J Rail. It's not a sub-franchise, so we can keep it as the top level. And the transport mode is Rail. Add franchise. And if we come down to the bottom, there's Northwestern. Now we could also do Network Central, Northeastern, Grand Northern. All of those, they could all be added. But right now we don't need to worry about that. Southwestern, Southern and Southeastern of the Guard City ones, they're being worked on by Master Trams right now. And then we've also got, is Great Western on here? Yeah, Great Western, Great Eastern. In fact, there's Guard City Southwestern. And yeah, so the operator ID, I've just kept it as the number. So I'm 1, George is 2, Master Trams is 3. Could, in theory, put it as the name. And I think originally I did have it as the name. But again, this is just the back end. No one else is going to see this UI for operational purposes other than me. Obviously, you're all seeing it now. But yeah. Depots. All of the depots that are currently operational are sat here. This is also quite easy. Name, nickname, number of tracks, the route that it's on, which right now is none for all of them. And then the transport mode again. And again, that's hard baked. The routes we haven't set up yet. That comes from this. So at the point where we start setting up the routes, then we will be able to select them in the depots. I was getting errors before because you couldn't have this left blank. It's kind of this vicious cycle when you do these databases, because you want everything linked together, but until you've got everything in the database, you can't link it. So I was getting errors, but that's now been fixed, obviously. So these are all the depots, as I said. So examples, Sunnington Train Care. It's got 13 tracks. No route right now, but it's on the Western Reaches North. Technically, it's on the West Coast route, but it's also on the West Winds and the Western Reaches North. So it will, I guess in this case, it would be designated the North Valleys line, because that's the one that all the trains that use it actually run on. So yeah, and it's rail. And again, that can actually be left as a number. This is what it looks like when they're not numbers, though. It actually goes into the table, finds the value, and inputs it in here. I don't think I have access to the mode table here. It does exist, but I don't have access to it. We're not adding any depots today, but I just wanted to show you this. The important one is rolling stock. So this is very much an easier version of what the old system was. The old system was Actually, I have my spreadsheet. Can I get it on? Let me see if I can be clever here. If I do this, and then if I do this, can you see that? Does that work? It does, but it's a bit small. That works, right? Yeah. So this is my old database for rolling stock. Let's choose one that's got a lot of trains. There we go, my 319s. So this is how it works. We've got whether or not it's running. That's this tick box on the left here. Then we've got the unit number, if it's part of a subclass. So the 319s don't have subclasses on here, so we don't have to worry about that. If they're coupled or not, it's just a simple tick box. The unit it's coupled to, and then the owner, the franchise, the route, and where it's based. Actually, some of this might need adding back. Actually, no, it doesn't, does it? Because I've got franchise rolling stock, where you select the franchise and you select the rolling stock, and it links it that way. That's why I didn't do that. But yeah, this is how it works. So for example, 319027, it's coupled to 319032. Runs on the western reaches north between Guard City St Michael and Sunnington, and it's based at Carnwell train care sidings. The new system simplifies it considerably. We now just have the unit number, what class it is, what it's coupled to, and where it's based, which is already populated because obviously the depots table has stuff in it. Now in theory I could just start going ham on this, but the class number here is currently blank because we have this table. Now this is the stuff that the program is going to use to determine layover times and things like that, and also how fast these trains can run and all that stuff. So here is blank right now, but you can put in something like class 31, which is something I was testing this with. Transport mode, rail, any item. It says rolling stock up here. Again, you guys won't see this. This is just a legacy thing. This is what it was originally called. But any item of transport will appear on this list, and that includes locomotives, multiple units, carriages and wagons, buses, trams, trucks, ships and aircraft. Any type of vehicle that can run on the M4J network will appear in this table here. And it might sound like that's a lot, but trust me, in a second it'll make more sense because I'm going to explain how all this works. So let's do an example. I need to get the game open for this. So I'm going to have it open on the same screen, but obviously you guys won't be able to see it right now. But I just want to show you an example as to how all this works. Let me pause the game so you don't hear any network noises. I just need a depot because I need access to... Let's not use that one. Let's use one that's empty. There we go. I need access to the vehicles list just so I know I'm putting in the right vehicles in the right order. Because previously I was using... Actually, I need that open as well. Bear with me 1 second, folks. The old table that I had, and I don't actually think I ever showed you the code from the old program, did I? Not fully, but I had an old rolling stock list that was in my timetable generator. And it was kind of cool, actually. It was a really long list, though. It had... Does it show me how many lines here? No, it doesn't. That's actually kind of annoying. 1 second. If I open it in Notepad, it might show me. Notepad++, I should say. Yeah, 132 lines, I think it was, of various combinations of rolling stock. That's all going to get simplified. Where's my tab? There's my tab. Right, I've got so many windows open, you'll have to bear with me a little bit here. But those 132 lines were only items of rolling stock that I was planning on running on the network. There were a lot of things on there that didn't appear at all, including... Oh, sorry, there's a lot of things in the game that didn't appear at all, including things like the Class 56, which might not have even been in the game actually when I made that. Are the 52s on there? They are, but in fixed consists. So for the class 50, let's say the class 47 actually, because that's a good one. 47 and 48, which apparently are the same thing pretty much, but they're geared for different speeds. Again, I know you're just looking at a blank screen right now, or the rolling stock screen, but I'm flicking between all sorts of pages. Class 47, you can have 4 to 5 coaches, 6 to 7, or 8 to 9. Quite limiting, right? Now, I don't know why you wouldn't want 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9 coaches. You're not really going to run a train with only 3. But, you know, it is quite limiting in what you can and can't do. And it was also set to a fixed amount. So 4 to 5 coaches plus the loco is a unit length of 6 tiles. So I set the unit length of 6 items of rolling stock, which is 3 tiles. So I set the data length to 3, which is the upper end of that limit. 6 to 7 was set to 4, and 8 to 9 was set to 5. That's good, but actually 2.5 is a perfectly good number as well. So the way this new system is going to work, let me head back to the right window. We're going to put in on this the class, which is the locomotive itself, which in this case is a class 47. Transport mode, rail. Unit type, locomotive. This I want to be a drop down as well, but I need to figure out how to do that. What I might do for this is create a new table in the background that would be locomotive, multiple unit, wagon, carriage, or carriage wagon, other way around, or aircraft, ship, bus, truck, whatever it might be. Because a helicopter is different to a plane. And I want to make sure that no one's accidentally sending a 747 to a heliport. So having helicopter as the unit type means that later on, when they're trying to plan a service, if it recognizes that the station is a heliport, which I am going to add that into the system, it won't let you select anything other than a helicopter to actually operate that service. Or anything classed as a helicopter, I should say. Because technically a blimp or an airship, it would be classed as a helicopter for the case of being able to operate out of a heliport. Number of coaches, we leave that blank because this is only a locomotive. Unit length in tiles is 0.5. Now the top speed of the 47, I believe, is only 75 miles per hour. Yes, that is the case. And then the on-off time, we talked about this previously. This is how long it takes to shut down or start up the locomotive. I think for this we just have a blanket time of 1 minute. Now all of this is ready to go. So I can hit add rolling stock here. And I got an error. That's interesting. That didn't happen when I tested this before. Line 1, length, top speed on off time values. Alright, hang on. Let's see if I can sort this out. Let's do the 33 then. You might see there it said 33-0. We're going to change that. It might be because I've already input these in and then deleted them. So maybe we'll choose one that I haven't done before. In which case, let's do the 319s. That's not a bad idea. So class 319. Now you're not, you are rail, sorry, but you are now a multiple unit. Number of coaches, 4. Unit length is therefore 2. Top speed, I believe, is 100. Let me just find that out quickly. And if this throws up an error, then I am in trouble. Top speed, yeah, 100. And then the on-off time is 1. Oh boy. Invalid input syntax for type integer. Oh. Multiple unit. Do you have to be... Sorry, this is new territory for me. Do you have to be hyphened? Nope. Okay, I need to go away and fix this. That's annoying because I've tested this and it worked. So I don't know what's happened here. Was it saying the same thing for the for this. 0.5, 75. Damn, I wish I'd left an example one in the table then. Type integer locomotive. Okay, what I think I've done here is set the type to a number when it's supposed to be text. So I'm going to go check that. I'll get back to you in just a second. Okay, fixed it. Very simple. This is something I'm not familiar with coding, because in my mind, in HTML coding, you can define things. Certain things have to be defined in a certain order, but for the most part, you can define things in any order you like and then refer back to them later. Or at least in my experience, you can. Someone else out there has probably just slammed their head straight into their desk, me saying that. But essentially, you know, you can, when you're defining, so like the page here, I can put the font first and then the color of the font. So like the size, the shape, all of that stuff, then the color, and then the button color, and I can swap those around in any order I like, and the page will still look like this. In Python coding, turns out you have to do things in a specific order. So what had happened was the mode, this, was at the bottom, and the unit type, so this is in the code itself, not here, because obviously it's the right way around here, but essentially this box was at the bottom. So when I put unit type locomotive, it was trying to insert the word locomotive into the mode column here. And the mode column is only supposed to be a number, an integer, and then it looks up what that integer is. And in this case, it's rail. So for display purposes here, it says rail. So that's why it wasn't working. It was trying to put the word in a box specifically for integers. And it was telling me that. I just didn't understand why it was telling me that. But I went back and looked at the code, and sure enough, they were in the wrong order. So one thing I'm going to do is go and check that everything else is in the right order. I'm still learning at the end of the day. I am still learning. And this is the part of the code that George was helping me out with, because the rolling stock classes is the new table that I created. And in trying to link it back to this rolling stock table, you see now class 47 appears as in the drop down. This is where I was having trouble with this, and this one. And George helped me with that. So massive helps. Massive thanks, George, if you're watching. Right. This is still an example one. I know it's the 5th one I've put in here now, but it's still an example. Class 47, rail, locomotive, has no coaches, unit length of 0.5, top speed of 75, and an on-off time of 1. Since we did the 319, we might as well do it again here now. So you are a multiple unit. Number of coaches, 4. Length is 2. Top speed was 100, and again the on-off time is 1. Good. You worked 2. And you can see now here number of coaches is set to 4. Now let's go back to rolling stock here. We're going to input 319027. 9027. You are a 319. Now technically you are coupled to something, but we're not going to select that right now. And the depot you are based at is Carnwell. Add rolling stock. Whew, that one worked too. Now 319027 is coupled to something. It is coupled to 319032. So 319032. You are also a 319. You are coupled to that one. And you are also based at Carnwell. You also worked. Now here, we need to go back to this and change your coupled to that one. I wondered what happened then. Heart in mouth. You know, that says coupled to 0 still. Did I not change that correctly? Or is it because... I think you only have to do this one way round. So I think this will always not work, which is fine. Did I not set your modes? Oh, mode isn't even a thing here anymore. Yeah, I need to remove that column because that's dumb. But yeah, class ID, this would say 319. The mode is getting removed. The depot is Carnwell, as we've established. And these are all set up correctly. Now, one more thing. Coupling compatibility. I don't want people to just make any consist they like. So I don't want a 47 hauling a 319. That's not realistic for me. So the coupling compatibility is, I'm going to come through here and select the class 47, and then I'm going to select anything that it can actually couple to. So a good example here is a 319 can also couple to a 319. And that's not going to work for reasons that I don't understand. An error occurred. Null value in column class A ID of relation coupling compatibility violates not null constraint. Detail failing row contains one null. Yeah, whatever. Essentially, this is going to fill. So class A ID here would be 319. Class B ID would be 319. Maybe it's because they're the same. I don't think I actually set it up for them to be the same. I don't know. This is way beyond my abilities right now, so I'm going to have to go do some research. Or just ask George again for help. But this means when you come to set up a schedule in the future, a timetable, a franchise route, whatever we decide to call it, you will also select the rolling stock, and it will be, select from this drop down, select from this drop down, and the drop downs will be populated according to the coupling compatibility. So let's say you have a class 87 hauling Mark III carriages. You'll be able to select all that from a drop down list. So have like primary traction, and that will be locomotives or multiple units, and then secondary traction will be any additional units or carriages, and you'll be able to add them to a box, and it'll build your train for you. Actually, what would be really cool? I was gonna say what would be really cool is if I uploaded the sprites. I don't know what that's going to do with copyright or anything, but if I could upload the actual BR train sprites and you could actually see your unit on the screen, but then I'd have to upload each sprite for each type of livery, unless I just did it as the default one. Wouldn't that be awesome though? Why is it not letting me do this? Violates not null constraint. Interesting. So let's say okay. Yeah, I don't know what that means. Someone tell me what that means. By all means, tell me what that means. But yeah, we're learning, we're building. The whole point of this series is like a devlog of or devblog in this case, or devlog in this case, of me creating this database. And then the last thing we can do is delete these, which it also wasn't letting me do previously, and that's something else George helped me with. But yeah, clearly something's not going right in the coupling compatibility. I also need to sort this out so that it lets me go back to where I want to be. I was going to end this episode by saying the next thing for me to do is to go through and add all of the rolling stock classes, which means, and I can't show you this right now, except I can. Let me just go to this. Turn that on, turn that off. There we go. This is openttd. Going through the entire BR trains list, including the steam locomotives, because there will be instances where this will be useful. Oh, no, I didn't mean to buy you. Technically, I didn't mean to buy you either. I was just trying to get your stats. But yeah, going through this and finding out. So like, yeah, what are you? A1. You are 0.9 tiles long, whereas the black 5 is 0.6. So the actual number that you can put in the box is set to a step of 0.1, because I knew there were some that didn't fit the mold, as it were. But adding all of the locos and then coming down here and adding all of the wagons as well. So there's all these ones as well, which I don't think I'm going to make compatible. Essentially, although I have got these ones, but I can't do all of these. This is ridiculous. We're going to have hundreds, if not thousands, of items if I do all of these. But from here downwards, being able to add all of these as well. And then we'll have the exceptions like the double-decker carriages that I've used up here. But mainly keep it to BR trains. So this coronation set, for example, is 4.5 tiles long already. So I would put that in. Technically, that's a carriage set, but I would have to put it in as an unpowered multiple unit, maybe? I don't actually know with that. Similar thing down here with the TCs. I guess I would just put them in as a single carriage that just happens to be really long. We'll see. But the wagons, all of this stuff, everything to do with BR trains is going to get inserted into the database, and then you'll be able to come through and select your consists using all of that. And that's it for this episode, I think. We've got everything set up and working to an extent. I still need to go find out what happened here, because it's not so much key right now, but it'll be key in the future. And there's also tidying up things I need to do, like removing mode from this. These ones down here, right now these are subtables based on, so like stations, you'll add in the name, you'll add in the code, the number of platforms. So the code is the 3 letters. So Guard City St. George is GSG. There are some that are 4 letters, technically, like St. Mark is GSMA. St. Michael is GSMI. And there are some, I think, with numbers in. So Punfingford Airport, I think, is PUN1. I believe. I think so. Number of platforms is a pretty straightforward thing, and that's all of the platforms. So again, GSG, that includes the I nearly said DLR then. That includes the HLR platforms and the underground platforms as well. Added connections, that's something that needs to go, because the next thing is station modes. This also needs rework, but this is essentially when you have a station that's also an airport or a dock or something like that, you can select it from here and then select the transport mode. This, I think, needs to go, though, because right now doesn't work with the system anymore. I don't think it does anyway. Routes, there's also a limitation here. Number of tracks, well, the main series video I'm working on at the moment, the Grand Northern Main Line has 4 tracks that goes down to 2 and back up to 4 again, and you can't really determine that with a single box. So I don't know what we're going to do about that. The primary terminus, yeah, that's pretty straightforward. Now, the transport mode here does apply, because obviously the main line there is rail only, so you can just go rail. There's no route, in fact, that would be more than one transport mode. So that's pretty straightforward. The route stations, yeah, so this is an interesting one. Once we've put all the stations in and the routes, we can select a route from here and then select a station, and then you put in the sequence number. So as an example, I'm going to have to switch windows again. As an example, from let's just do a shortened route from GSG, which is here, up to Don'tborough, which is here. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 stations along the way. So you would select GSG. That's technically station 0. I think the primary terminus covers that as well, though. Plintbridge Parkway, which is here. That's station 1. Gunway Brewery, which is here. That's station 2. Gunway Bridge, station 3. And then, what are you? Flartbridge, station 4. And then Don'tborough is station 5. So on this sequence, you would select them in that order and put them in the sequence numbers for that order as well. It's a bit of a headache doing it like that. I think there might be a better way of doing it. So if you're watching this and you think, yep, there's a better way of doing it, please let me know, because that's going to be painful to do. Platform routes as well. So this would be, you select a station, you select a route, and then you select the platform number that can use that route. Again, that's kind of annoying to do it like that, because it doesn't determine direction. So again, I think there's a better way of doing it. Maybe platform number, and then select previous station or waypoint, and then next station or waypoint. But again, that sounds like a lot of work, doesn't it? And I feel like there's a way of simplifying that. Route franchises, that one's really easy. You select the route and you select the franchise that operates on it. Now, routes might have more than one franchise operating on it. That's fine. You can just do that. Rolling stock, you select the franchise, you select the rolling stock, and it will assign. So I think this is the unit number it's done by. I wish I'd kept them in now for that reason. But yeah, I think it's the unit number, and then it would assign that rolling stock to that franchise. Franchise services, very similar. You select the service, you select the franchise. Service runs. So this is this is when you're selecting a service, you will choose actually I can't remember how this works even. And then the running times and the timetable entries. But all of these can be changed, these tables. The only ones that are static right now, in fact, all of the tables really can be changed, but the only ones that I would say are absolutely static are franchises, because there's no reason to change anything here. Depots, because there's no reason to change anything here. Rolling stock does need mode removed, but other than that, it's pretty good. And rolling stock classes. Everything else is susceptible to change, because yeah. The services one probably works as well, actually, with the frequency, origin station, destination station, and transport mode. I guess that works too. And then, actually, this might be where I was getting confused. So you select the service here, then you go to service runs, select this, and then you select the stations, which I guess all the stations will be on here, and you dictate where that is along the route and whether or not it's a waypoint. The fact that that's a tick box is actually pretty cool. And by waypoint, I mean, does the train actually stop there, or does it just use it as a timing point? Simple as that. Okay, I think I've talked enough now. This is the database. This is the UI that I use to access the database, and I need to find out what's going wrong with coupling compatibility. So I'm going to figure that out, and then I'm going to start inputting all of the rolling stock classes into this. And for things like... one more thing, subclasses is the other thing I wanted to talk about. So the class 33s, you can see there 33.0, 33.1. There are other ones as well. I won't open the game for you guys for this, but I'll look myself. There are other trains. So the 373s, which are the Eurostars, there are 3 subclasses of those. The dash 0, the dash 1, and the dash 2, I believe they all are. So we need to put in something for that as well. And I might also use that for things like coaching stock. The Mark 1s, for example, have first open, standard open, tourist standard open, first corridor, composite corridor, standard corridor, break standard open mini buffet, break first corridor, break composite corridor, break standard corridor, break gangway, restaurant kitchen, and restaurant buffet. Those are all the varieties of Mark 1 coach. So having all of those as subclasses rather than as their own class entry might actually work better. And then on the compatibility, the coupling compatibility, all of these can be coupled to all of these. Makes life a little bit easier, right? And again, for the coupling compatibility, let's say we have a class 150 that can couple, I believe, to a 151, a 153, a 155, and a 156. So to do that, I only have to select the 150 and then select all of the other ones as their own entries, and it will also do the opposite. So if a 150 can couple to a 156, then a 156 can couple to a 150. I don't have to do them each time for both units, if that makes sense. And also a sprinter, the 150, there's a dash 0, a dash 1, and a dash 2. So that also explains why subclasses are important. And the reason they're really important is the capacity of the unit might be different. Capacity is something I considered adding as well as things like tractive effort and just as data to the database so that you can view it. But I think I might be able to do a separate table for that without having to go through and completely redo. Because operationally, when you're doing this, you just need to know how many coaches, the length, the top speed, and the on-off time. But for display purposes, you might want capacity, top speed as well, of course. I'm on complete the wrong window now. And things like build year, tractive effort, power, all of that stuff. So having that in a separate table, so like rolling stock classes and then rolling stock info maybe as a separate table, would be a good one to have for that. But sorry, the reason I was distracted myself. The reason why subclasses is important as well is because a 150-2 is only 2 cars long and has a capacity of 147 passengers. A 150-0 is 3 cars long and has a capacity of 231. So the length of the train is also different, as well as the capacity. The top speed in all of these is the same. They're all 75. But there are some, I believe, where even the top speed changes depending on the subclass. They're re-geared. So, yeah, 305... Actually, no, they're just different top speeds as well. I'm trying to find one where there is a different... different capacities. I'm trying to find one where there's a different top speed. There you go. The 320s. So the 320-0 is a 3-car train that has a top speed of 75 miles per hour and a capacity of 213 passengers. A 320-1, 3 and 4 has a 3-car consist, capacity of 213, which is the same, but has a top speed of 90 miles per hour. So it's actually 15 miles an hour faster. And that can change things. Someone might select the wrong train because they just wanted a 320 and didn't realize there were different subclasses. So that's where we step in. We make sure that people run their trains, run the trains they're expecting to run, basically. But yeah, I'm going to stop talking now. I've recorded a lot today. My throat hurts. I'm going to go sit down and try and figure out what's going wrong with coupling compatibility. So, next time, I don't really know what we're going to be doing, in all honesty. This journey is continuing quite a lot, and it's starting to pick up speed, which I'm quite pleased with. So we could just be inputting data into the database using this UI. At some point, we need to start working on a UI that an operator might see. But I think I want to get as much data into here first. So maybe the next episode will be fiddling around with some of these tables and setting up experiments to see how all of this actually works. This I don't like. I don't want a date and time. Can you see that drop down that's just open? No, you can't. I don't want a date and time because every day is the same on the M4J network. So we need to find a way to change that as well. So yeah, when I know it, you'll know it as to what the next episode is going to be. It could just be me putting in data to the existing table. It could be me editing the structure of the tables. We'll see. But until then, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. And of course, if you're enjoying the series so far, drop some comments down below if you have any feedback at all. If you're a Python coder and you want to help out with all of this, it'll be mainly me asking for advice rather than, setting up a GitHub or anything. Eventually there'll be a GitHub for all of this, but I don't want to do that right now. It's enough of a headache getting this side of things working, never mind all of that as well. But if you've got any advice like why this isn't working, or is there a better way of formatting these tables, then by all means let me know down below. In terms of formatting as well, like this is messy, but only I'm ever going to see this, so I'm happy with it being this messy. The actual UI that you guys will see, both as an operator and also on my website, they're going to be a lot tidier than this. They won't be set up like this, for example, just tabs along the top. There'll be a lot more of a structure to it. So there'll be like a stations tab and a list of all the stations, and you can click on it and it will show you all the information, which is actually one other thing I should add to stations is a bio box. But that might be its own subtable again. So stations _bio or -bio, where you can actually see, excuse me, where you can actually see the bio. So you can select the station from a drop down, much like you do here, and then it'll just be a text box that you can put the bio in. Yeah, I need to go and stop talking. If you've got any advice, let me know down below. Besides that, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. If you have already subscribed to the channel, thank you for your continued support. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and until next time, I will see you soon.